Hello and welcome back. In this session I'll show you 4 ways of creating an opening balance in the system. So that's for rent, deposit, a client and float balance, and the bank accounts balance. So let's go through these one by one. Scenario number 1 is the rent opening balance. You've just adopted the new system, you've set up your tenancies, but the opening balances are all 0, and what you want to do is enter an opening balance for each tenancy to show what they currently owe. This is done by going to Lettings, going into a tenancy, and then using the Charge Rent Manually function. As you can see here, a rent opening balance has now been added to the tenant's account. The next scenario is entering a deposits opening balance. Let's assume that you've just started using the system and want to log all the deposits that you're currently holding. If we go to Chart of Accounts, we can see that there's nothing due to be received or held in the virtual deposit bank account. So to enter a deposits opening balance, you simply need to first charge deposit manually and then collect it. Let's switch back to the tenancy. Step 1, let's go to the tenant's account and charge deposit manually. We can now see that £1,000 deposit is receivable. Let's go to step 2 and take a payment. The date would usually be when the tenant moved in and gave their deposit. Select the client bank account or the virtual deposit account wherever the money's held. If we now go to Chart of Accounts, we can now see that the virtual deposit account is showing the correct balance. Scenario number 3, that's the client and float balance. So we have a landlord and we want to show that he's in credit and we're holding his money. Let's take a look at the landlord's account. We can see that the main and float balance is showing 0. Let's add a journal entry and add an opening balance to the client's main account. From the journal entry page, let's select the landlord and the related tenancy. Now to credit the landlord's main account, we need to select Client Accounts, AR. Don't get this mixed up with a client's bank account, which is a completely different account. And in the second row, select the opening balance equity account. Let's add an opening balance of £300 and the credit and debit column needs to equal to the same amount. Switching back to the landlord's account and refreshing the page, we can now see that a £300 opening balance has been applied. You would use the same logic to add an opening balance to the float account, but instead of the client account, you would choose the float when making the journal entry. The final scenario is the bank's opening balance. Let's go to Chart of Accounts. We can see here that the bank's balance is 0. Now remember, we're holding £300 that belongs to the landlord, so in addition to creating an opening balance for the landlord, we also need to adjust the client bank account opening balance to show that you're holding the landlord's money. Let's go back to Account, then go to Journal Entry. Again, we need to select the opening balance equity account and then the client bank account. Now your attention is needed because what I'm about to show you next is going to be the complete opposite of what you're expecting. To show that the bank has £300, you need to debit it by £300. That's correct. If the bank has £300 in there, you need to debit the bank by £300 and credit the opening balance by £300. Now if you're not an accountant like myself, I would expect to credit the bank by £300 because I have £300 in there. but you just need to think of the complete opposite of what you would expect. Back in chart of accounts, we can now see that the bank is in credits by £300. Now, if you're an accountant looking at this expecting negative figures for the banks, the reason why it's made this way is so it's friendly to use as an estate agent. To finalise this tutorial, let's take a look at the trial balance. We can see that the opening balance for the client bank account came from the journal entry that we made. The deposit account was when we received the deposit. And if we drill down into other creditors, we're able to see both the journal entry that we applied to the landlord's account and also the deposit that we received from the tenant. So if you've just come on board and you need a step-by-step guide to adjusting your opening balances, here are 4 steps to get you going. Number 1, charge rent manually to adjust the tenant rent opening balance. Number 2, charge deposits manually and receive the deposits. Number 3, make any journal entries to adjust the landlord's main or float balance, and only after you've done that should you make a journal entry to adjust the bank account's opening balances.